Good day to you, partner. I'm Dee, and I can already tell that I'll be your best friend in this forsaken camp.
Hey guys, Wheat Solo here, aka the Skeleton King. So Landis 3 is showing off his current poison gear breakdown right now. It's absolutely disgusting. Wow, Rite of Passage boots, cute. Yeah, for the CBF. Only a 26 fast, so he doesn't need more faster cast rate than that. The CDR adds up to 100, he gets 100 because of the COA. In general, poison is not like Corpse Explosion. In fact, Corpse Explosion is probably a bit better to prioritize facets. The reason why we always suggest just to go with +1 all skills is that it's so close it doesn't really matter, and +1 all skills affects a lot of your other skills as a PMB player, whether you run curses, bone armor, or some summon support. With poison, basically percent damage or facets is just better. You might go, well, why don't you run more +3 poison charms? Well, +3 is a pretty small amount. So there's probably a min-max where +3 large charms are the right idea. Oh, I actually like that he's got a second setup with more MF. That's cool. Yeah, he's got a lot of good gear. So there's probably a min-max, but basically +3 from a large charm with its limited amount of mods is just not quite worth it. His Merc gear is absolutely disgusting. Now, he is running a Howl Tusk. As you notice, his Gore Riders had an all-res core. Technically, that's not right. You would want CBF and then a 3-socket helm. It doesn't really matter that much because when you're running Act 2, you do need more all-res, but he's a little short, so an would be technically a bit better. He meets the IS breakpoint. That's incredibly important. For anyone wondering, basically with Doom, it's one of the best damaging rune words that you also put on a Merc for its benefit. It's quite disgusting. In fact, his Merc is probably doing 70k based on our limited understanding of Merc DPS. Rin has been telling us that they might do double what we think. Now, that's including fighting regular mobs, and that's like a whole different story. With Poison, their boss damage should just be about 70k, but that could be an underestimate. Any class should highly prioritize gearing their Merc. They're just so good. They're just stupid as shit. That's the only problem with them. They are stupid motherfuckers. I like this. I like the 1-point amplified damage. Some people run lower resist, decrepify, things like that. It really doesn't matter because poison single target DPS, like what you're going to cast lower res and do desecrate, just put an amp on it and your Merc will just blast the boss. So I actually think that's a really cute idea, really good. Nice map, Vampire Lords, high density, no bad mods. Let's see his play for a bit. Not bad. He's running 75 FCR. His gear is just disgusting. Like, he's got the +4 AMI with 10 FCR. We've been doing a lot of talking recently, and we actually think that's BIS now. Excuse me. Ooh. I don't want to re-record. I apologize. I don't have enough time. I know my time is so important. By the way, an important note, these Venom Lords actually have very high base poison resistance. They have 75 poison res, and they also have a large chunk of health. So even with his disgusting gear, I'm not sure. See, he didn't. So he will kill all Venom Lords in one Nova cast, except probably champions. Now, there are Lords that are just immune to poison. In fact, that might be the one I'm talking about. Maybe it's Pit Lords are the ones that are immune to poison and have high base poison res, and I apologize. I get really mixed up on the names of these enemies. Ooh, look at this Vanapack. He's so lucky he didn't die. All right, so let's talk about the gear a bit besides or actually the skill breakdown, I apologize. For any of the gear, just look at it again. Bone Flame, awesome. I don't think I would run it. Again, Landis has like near perfect gear for what he's doing. If you run Bone Flame, Homo, you will probably not do enough damage. Pierce is so important. In fact, let's talk about this real quickly. I'm probably going to make a video about this because it's a very... In fact, oh, by the way, I think Landis skips bosses, so I don't even know why he runs the 1 point amp. He doesn't fight them anyways. And also the bosses, there's like no point to kill them anymore anyways, because, what is it, PDE is worthless? It's like an It's kind of bizarre. Don't really understand how that happened, but, you know, I'm the Baker King this season, so don't ask me questions like that. By the way, you can see, I believe everything else in this map is dying in 1 Nova fairly consistently. I'll try and keep an eye on that. Oh, he does go to the boss room. Okay. I think they changed this map a bit. I don't remember it ever having an entrance and exit to where the boss is. Huh. Okay, so skill breakdown. He is not running Blood Golems anymore. Now, Blood Golems, I don't know what to say. I don't know what to say because I was convinced, in fact, I still think so. Blood Golems in their original state, when they gave +2 LOH per level, were so insane. Because even Poison Necros could easily get, you know, maybe not 60 health, but like a 50 health per hit. Right now, for non-poison players, they're probably giving you like 30 per hit, maybe like 25. He's not running them anymore. As you notice, he had 6 extra skill points. He doesn't run Bone Armor. He doesn't run Lower Resist because it's really just not worth casting, trust me. He does have max revives. So this is where Landis and I aren't agreeing. So his point about revives are this. They actually cause frame recovery on enemies. Now, I wouldn't say it happens all the time, but as you can see, he does have Moonlords, which probably do enough damage. He has Abominables, which do a smite. And then my personal favorite are Ujwars, because they also have Crushing Blow, but they basically always do smite. Wing Threshers have a smite-like ability on their Frenzy. So there are revives that can give you a defensive presence that Blood Golems do not. Blood Golems are incredibly poor attackers. Incredibly poor, except for single target. For anything else, they don't do anything. Now, they do give you health. I think Landis went too far. Where I think he should prioritize his skill points is get 20 Golem Mastery, get a few into Revives, and get 1 point into goddamn Bone Armor. Dude, me and Landis have been arguing about Bone Armor ever since I met him. He will not run Bone Armor. He always says it's not worth casting. But as you can watch during this video, there are plenty of times where Landis is not playing as fast as he could. So when he goes, Keith, it slows me down to clash Bone Armor. It's like, no, it doesn't, because you already are slow at some points. So if you casted Bone Armor, you'd be less slow because you wouldn't be wasting time getting hit. By the way, of course, he is not running block. Do not run block unless you're running Hobo. So he's running Bone Flame. Do I think Bone Flame is better? Dude, Homo is such a good shield. The problem with Homo is it's one less skill. The PDR isn't a big thing. I bet it barely keeps him from dying. Max block would keep him from dying much more than PDR. And yes, Necros have bad block animations. And yes, while you're blocking, you can be hit. But, you know, 20 PDR that his Bone Flame is giving him is probably doing next to nothing. But Bone Flame gives you 1 more skill. According to Landis, you can kill almost everything in a T3 with Homo, but I think what he said is he's not sure if you can get 100 CDR and do it. So as you notice, he's running the Crown of Ages, so he's losing quite a bit of skills by running Crown of Ages. And, at a certain point, I wouldn't even run Crown of Ages now. So now he goes into the second map. This is why he calls it the double map special. He does both in 13 minutes because his gear is so gross. And he's also a very good player. Okay. But now Bone Armor doesn't get affected by the PDR. So yes, I know you need to cast it a lot. But in this map especially, look at all these Vigor packs. He's going to play pretty safe fairly often. So as you can see, he's not playing that aggressively on this screen right now. So, you know, when I talk to him, I'm like, why don't you just, you know, I'm gonna tell him. He just has to. You know what? You have to. you have to. You don't get a choice anymore. I'm just gonna tell him you need to run Bone Armor for a bit. You know, give it a week. Give it a week or two. Just run Bone Armor for a week or two and actually cast it, and then tell me it's not worth it. Because Bone Armor will decrease the chance he is ever in frame recovery. Now, thankfully, he's not running block, so his frame recovery is less than normal. But again, there will be times where he will not get a cast off. Like right then, he didn't get a cast off. I think it might have happened twice on that screen. I think it happened 3 times so far. When you're playing, you'll know. When you're watching, it's a little harder to tell. But, oh, there he just got smited. Like, there's no way to stop that. You're going to get smited, and it's going to mess you up. So let's go on. My priority would be 20 Golem Mastery, 1 Revive, 1 Bone Armor. And then with the remaining points, I would get as many Revives as I could. Because Revives do have utility, even if their damage is low. Let's see. Last thing to talk about. Okay, the Haltusk Helm. Landis, I believe, is wrong about this. When Landis and I were talking, I was like, I'm assuming the reason you're running Haltusk is for a little more defense. Now, you can see it does proc pretty often. In fact, sometimes it procs every single stop. It seems to proc once every few packs is a conservative estimate. I think that's pretty fair. The problem with Haltusk is it only affects normal mobs. So champs and elites aren't affected. Now, the elite bonus minions, I believe, are affected, unless their base monster type isn't. But white mobs aren't that scary in Diablo 2. Now, of course, if you're running into a Might Fana or a Might Conk, any sort of combination of auras like that, then it definitely is different than normal. But for the most part, I'm never worried about a white mob, so in my opinion, Haltusk doesn't do that much. But he's saying he feels like he is surviving better with it. Now, you don't need a lot of Merc DPS for anything but a boss. Running Revives is also actually pretty nice because he gets a lot of damage. Imagine if he had some Blood Golems in there for a dot on the boss. So is Haltusk worth it? I think that's up to you and your personal god. Me, I'd go G-Face. Your stomps are deadlier, and you know your Merc in a stomp. Look at how much quicker the enemies died in the middle than the outside. I guarantee you Emilio, who, you know, well, it's not Emilio. Now I get it. If he had Emilio, he would be running a G-Face. But with Pazzle, of course he doesn't trust him. I wouldn't trust him either. Probably a damn terrorist. Now, if it was Emilio, these mobs would be dying before he even got to the screen. But as you can see with this poor Act 2 Merc, they die quicker than the enemies around them. His damage... In fact, he can probably kill a pack by himself on this map. Well, he'll die because they're just so stupid. But he could probably kill a pack in maybe a second, honestly. Maybe a tougher pack, it would take him 2 seconds. You got to understand, like 25 frames, he's doing 70,000 DPS a second. These monsters only have 30,000 HP is an exaggeration, but somewhere between, 20 and 30,000 HP with different resistances. Trust me, it's going to take him a second. So I think that's it. I might just have music play for the last. I want to know... Oh, there are some other things I can talk about. Okay, Venomord. So we are all Team Venomord now. In fact, I'm going to try to make a budget video showcasing Venomord because Venomord is actually cheaper than Bramble for the most part. You can actually buy a pretty low roll Bramble, which is always better for poison. Again, poison does not get better through skills. It gets better through percent damage and pierce. Venom Ward comes with 15 pierce on a perfect roll. With 3 sockets, that's 30 pierce plus 15 damage. Now, with the way res works in PD2, that's basically almost always as good as a 50 roll Bramble. Now, technically it's not on a 0 resistance enemy. It's quite a bit worse, but since most enemies have a bit of resistance, it's basically almost as good. Now, this is strange. His routing is... Landis, you're too good of a player to not know maps better. That's it. I'm going to tell Landis he's got to work on his map routing too. And you know what he's going to tell me? I'm not used to the map yet. I'm like, well, you're still not used to, River of Blood. So, what's your excuse? That map's been in the game since season 1, Landis. That's what he told me when I complained about his routing in River of Blood, is he wasn't used to it. And it's like, okay, what map are you used to? What's the regular old tier 1 map? Ruins of Vizjun? Is that the only map he knows? I don't know. Okay, moving forward. It's almost always as good on high resistance mobs with 3-piece, like 75 resistance. It's actually better, even with the 3-piece pierce. Now, since he's running less pierce, that means it's probably as good on like a 50 res mob or even a 40 res mob. The problem with it is not its damage, which is, again, almost always as good. It's its other stats. Bramble gives you some max cold, which is nice, but it's mainly the FHR and life after each kill, which Poison needs so bad, it's hard to put it into words. He completely destroys this boss. I think the video's almost done. I think I'm running out of things to talk about, except for his bad routing. So guys, Skelly King out, GG. There's still a lot left to be done in this game. So, I know it can get old, but how I've always played games is there's always an opportunity to learn more or be better. So, why make another character? Why play another game when you can just get better at casting Blood Warp and Poison Nova? One last thing, do not put Poison Nova and Blood Warp on different buttons. It doesn't make your play better. I've tried it.
Come
GG.
and play with us. Come and play with us, Daddy. Forever.